Great. Okay. Thank you guys for inviting me. I'm real excited to talk about zero waste in Gainesville and Alachua County, Florida. And we talked about this a minute ago, but just a quick overview. My local jobs, I co-chair Zero Waste Gainesville. So that's actually a volunteer position. And I'm the director of Zero Waste at the Repurpose Project. So that's a local nonprofit creative reuse center. And with that job, I work with small businesses in K-12 schools and help with the community planning in Gainesville. So I have some trivia questions for you that I generated, and it's based on my presentation. So all the answers are in the slides after all the questions. So which sector generates the most landfill trash in Gainesville? So residential or commercial? So obviously residential are the people and the commercial are like the businesses. So you guys can put that in the chat or we can discuss whatever you want. Do you want me to keep going or do you guys want to chat about it? Like actually talk, or do you just want to put it in the chat?
So I think we put it in the chat. Maybe you can like look at the answers and then say what correct answer is.
Okay, well, should I wait and say what the right answer? You'll see it in the slides later on. Is that cool?
I think you can go like slide to slide.
Okay, so you want me to look at the chat right now?
Sure.
Okay, so it's commercial, and you'll see that I have a slide showing the actual data. So businesses create a lot of trash, and it's not just in Gainesville. That's pretty typical. But we think of that as an opportunity. So there are some business recognition programs that help businesses work towards zero waste. So yeah, it's commercial. So the next one is how many truckloads of landfill trash go to the landfill each day from the transfer station in Alachua County? So basically, how much is Alachua County sending to the landfill? So a truckload is 25 tons. So how many of those truckloads go to the landfill each day?
Okay, randomly guessing.
Yeah, well, you're all wrong. It's 30. So it's a lot. It's a lot of trash. So again, that's all an opportunity. So we need to all work as a community to reduce that. It's a lot.
Oh, I was a little closer.
So what percentage of the waste composition in Alachua County is food? Meaning of all of that landfill trash we're sending away from our community or the landfill trash that we're generating here in Alachua County, what percentage of it is food? So when you do a waste composition study, it's generally by weight. So it's a waste composition. So basically they look through it all, and some of it's paper, some of it's plastic, it's glass, it's metal, it's bulky stuff, and some of it's food and yard waste. So you can just take a guess. And this is from a waste composition study done last year and earlier this year. So it's actually 16%, 16%. But that's just food. So there is other organic material, like some yard debris, although not a lot, luckily, because we have pretty good ways of getting yard debris out. So how many tons of materials were recycled at the Alachua County Material Recovery Facility, which we call a MRF for short, in 2020? So these are the materials that Alachua County business and residences diverted. So they didn't send them to the landfill. Instead, they went to a MRF where they got sorted and baled and sold to be used as the feedstock or resources to make new stuff. So it's one of those four. It's actually 18,000 tons. It's just over 18,000, but I kept the numbers simpler. Yeah.
Does Alachua County has MRF?
Yes. Have you not been there?
I didn't.
I go out there frequently. So if you ever want to go out there, I can arrange a tour with Charlie.
Okay. That will be cool.
It's really exciting to see. Yeah. So when food is wasted, all the resources used to produce the food are also wasted. So I said, list all the resources that you can think of that are wasted when food is wasted. So, you know, natural resources, all of the stuff that's used. So I talk about this a lot with the K through 12 programs that I do with them, because I try to make the connection with the students that everything, you know, we own and eat and sit on and look at, it all comes from natural resources from the earth, and try and help them make that connection. You know, everything we wear and even stuff in our cell phones, and it all comes from the earth. And when we waste stuff, meaning don't utilize it to its fullest extent, or send it to landfill when it could be recycled, or reuse it, all those things, you're wasting all the resources that went into it. And food is a really good example. But did you guys put what are some resources? You can just.
I was just gonna say out loud, like maybe, yeah, like Jenna said, water goes into cooking food, electricity.
Yeah, everything it takes to grow food and transport it, the processing. And I have a slide on it later, but yeah, definitely. All of that stuff, the fertilizer, the energy, the water, the land space, and even the landfill space. So when we waste food, that takes up landfill space. And so that's actually a big deal as well. So this is the last question, true or false? Gainesville has a zero waste resolution, zero waste goal, zero waste plan, and is considered a community working towards zero waste. Hope you guys get this right. Yes, it's true. Yeah, and I'm pretty happy about it. It is true. We're not doing everything perfect, and we've had hiccups, and I don't agree with everything in the plan, but yes, all of that is true, and it's pretty exciting. All right, so you guys are familiar with where you are, but sometimes I have these slides in with other presentations where people don't know where Gainesville or Alachua County are. So this is our system for the most part in Gainesville. Is we have pay as you throw. So if you live in a home or single family residence, you can choose the size of your garbage can and you pay a different rate. So this is an incentive to create less landfill trash and instead reduce and then reuse your resources, and then also recycle and compost. We've actually had this pay-as-you-throw system since the mid-90s, and it is something that we recommend every community that we work with to create a community zero waste strategic plan. We recommend they enact a pay-as-you-throw program. Not a whole lot of communities have them. We have dual stream recycling. Again, this is for single family residents. So if you live in an apartment or a multifamily or a condo or anything like that, or even on campus or off campus student housing, you don't have these services. These are for single family residents. But dual stream recycling is actually pretty awesome too, that a community that we have that, because so many communities went to single stream. But with dual stream recycling, basically you keep the paper and all the fiber products separate from the bottles and the cans. So it just means the commodities have a higher value, there's less contamination. So it's a really good thing. We have yard debris collection. We have a couple community composters here in Gainesville, which is pretty awesome. It is a requirement that multifamily or apartment complexes offer recycling, but that ordinance is really outdated, and that's one thing they're working on now because it's not always accessible. It's not always the right amount. I hear from a lot of students that their recycling bins are always either full or they're full of trash. It's just a mess. So the city commission is actually working on that right now to fix that. The same thing with commercial recycling. Businesses in Gainesville and Alachua County are required to recycle, but it's not the best system, and they're trying to revamp that as well. And we do have a ban on single-use plastic straws and stirrers. That's the only single-use plastic thing we can regulate right now because we have a state preemption, unfortunately. But this is what happens to our trash in Alachua County, even the trash from the university. So the waste hauler that uses this transfer station is the same hauler as on UF as most of the community, although we do have a few waste haulers. But if you see WCA or GFL, they're the same. GFL just bought WCA. They bring all of their stuff to the transfer station. So this middle picture is the transfer station. And if you've never been here, they do tours. But But this is where all of our landfill trash comes. It comes in here, goes down this road and goes into here. They dump their garbage trucks here, and then the garbage gets put on the really long trucks. They're called long trucks, but they're about the size of a semi. And then they're driven to the landfill from here. But our transfer station also has the material recovery facility here. So this is where all the recyclables come from, single family residents, from everybody who has GFL or WCA. Again, they're the same company. And this is a dual stream MRF, meaning that if a truck picked up single stream recycling, they could not bring it here. Paper and cardboard has to be separate. And then here is hazardous waste. So this is open to all Alachua County residents. You can bring your hazardous waste here, stuff that's not allowed or should not go to the landfill. So this is the transfer station. So again, all of the trash, because we're mostly talking about just the immense amount of landfill trash, it gets put on long trucks and it goes to the landfill, which is about 33 miles north of here. I have been out there. They also do tours there. I don't think it's as regular and it's further away. I haven't been up there since before COVID, and I'm hoping to go back sometime soon because it's worth checking out to see how they work. But here is the chart, and I have you guys in the way, so I can't see it. There we go. So this is just a column chart showing the residents versus the commercial for Gainesville as far as landfill recycling and other diversion. But for the most part, look at these two here. So this is residential and this is commercial. So that question about which sector generates the most landfill waste, and it's definitely commercial with almost 60,000 tons a year. So this was actual data from 2020, where the residentials don't produce as much. And it doesn't mean they're not producing a lot. It just means commercial is really producing a lot, unfortunately. So again, our landfill trash goes to the transfer station and then to the landfill. So this is the other question, that 30 truckloads a day go to the landfill from Alachua County. And if each truck carries 25 tons, that's 750 tons of trash a day. And this is on average. It can be less and it can be more, like on gay weekends, it's more, you know, at holidays, it's more. So they do notice a difference. But again, this is just opportunities. We have so much to do to work towards zero waste. And this is Alachua County's waste composition. So this study was done over 2 different seasons. So a season in 2020 and a season in 2021. So this is the breakdown of our landfill waste. So you can see that so much of this is either recyclable or compostable. The way that this consultant does their waste composition study, unfortunately, a lot gets kept in miscellaneous. But let me assure you, there's bulky stuff in here. There's reusable stuff in here. There's stuff that we should ban, meaning it shouldn't be allowed in our community, especially like the single-use plastics. Look at all of these plastics. It's just so much. And the food, 16%, a little bit of yard. A little bit of this paper is paper that cannot be recycled. It's either food soiled paper or it's some sort of compostable paper that could probably be lumped in over here with organics to probably put organics over 20%. We could get that out and we could compost it. Construction and demolition debris should not be going to the landfill. That's generally stuff that can be reused or recycled or composted, but it's not. But here's some pictures from our material recovery facility. And so basically there are people that work on the line. So our bottles and cans and everything gets dumped on this line and they throw the different commodities in different chutes. So the different types of plastics go in certain bins. They have magnets that pull off the metals. And like I said, paper's in a different stream. So different workers are on that line. And see, in 2020, over 18,000 tons of materials were recycled. So this is the paper, the glass, the metal, the cans, stuff like that. And we have an eco-industrial park coming right beside the transfer station. Nothing is built there yet. So it's just land right now. So I want to transfer just a little bit to zero waste, talk about it briefly, why it's so important and how it can be a part of the solution to so many things. The Zero Waste International Alliance has the only peer-reviewed definition of zero waste, and this is the one that I use in all of my professional work. And Zero Waste USA, who I told you I also work for, They're the national affiliates of the Zero Waste International Alliance. So this is the definition that I work with, and it's the conservation of all resources by means of responsible production, consumption, reuse, and recovery of products, packaging, and materials without burning, and with no discharges to land, water, or air that threaten the environment or human health. So when we make zero waste communities, when we talk about creating zero waste systems, it's all about modeling nature. So I told you guys I have an MS degree in interdisciplinary ecology, and I actually worked as an ecologist. So I worked in the field studying alligators and amphibians from North Central Florida all the way down through the Everglades. And so, but you don't have to be a biologist or an ecologist to know that nothing in nature is wasted. They just have these cyclical cycles where they reuse their resources and they just transfer their energy, and nothing gets wasted. So when we create zero waste systems, we're modeling nature. And we also go by that there is no away. So the landfill where all of our stuff goes to, and you guys know how much goes away, 33 miles north to the New River landfill, that is not a way to other people. There are people that live near there. There's actually a river right by the landfill. So there's ecosystems and animals. And so there's just no way for our stuff. And zero waste also means managing resources, not waste, because I think of everything that we're throwing away as a resource, and that's not what we should be doing with it. So zero waste really is an aspirational goal to generate as little trash day to day that would need to be landfilled. And we're really striving for a system that mimics nature, where nothing is wasted and all of the resources can be reused, recycled, or composted. So how do we achieve this? So for the most part, we are involved in a linear system of resource use. So we extract resources from the earth, we make products, we consume products, and then we dispose of them. And that's for the most part the system that we're in. But really what we want to create is this circular system where resources might be extracted, but during the design phase, they are designed for the environment, meaning the end of life is taking into consideration. So everything's reusable, recyclable, or compostable. And of course, we want the manufacturing to be, zero emissions and as non-polluting as possible. We want to really enhance our reuse systems. We want a way to gather those resources at the end of life. So instead of disposal, we want to keep those resources in use so that they can be the feedstock for new products and packaging, so less natural resources have to be extracted from the earth. So if we can create the circular system of resource use, we can really create zero waste. And that is what we are striving for. So our local zero waste movement here in Gainesville really focuses on the work we do at the Repurpose Project, the work we do at Zero Waste Gainesville, and we always partner up with Lifoplastic. So Joy Hughes owns that. It's a local, like low or no packaging store that she opened almost 3 years ago, but she's really been a big advocate for zero waste. And she's like our knowledgeable private sector person that owns businesses. So we get to learn from her, because those of us that are advocates, we're not business owners, we don't run businesses. So we always partner up with a lot of work with Lifoplastic. But if you're not familiar with the Repurpose Project, it really is a junk shop. It's a creative reuse center. We sell everything from building materials and office supplies and fabric and electronics, and everything that you see in the store was donated by community members. And then we have a lot of people who work in the store. I do not work in the store day to day. I'm hardly ever there even. I need to go there more. But the folks who work there, they process all of the donations and then they get them back on the shelves to be resold to the community. So it's really a fabulous thing when you have a creative reuse store locally. It's been here almost 10 years, so it's pretty amazing. So the reuse is really a big part of zero waste. It's part of climate change mitigation. It creates good local jobs. It provides low-cost items to the community, helps create the circular economy, conserve resources, conserve biodiversity. And the Repurpose Project actually just bought a second location, which focuses more on the bulky stuff, the big stuff like used furniture, used kitchen appliances, and cabinets, and the bigger stuff that didn't fit at the first location. So we actually have 2 locations here in town now, both on the east side of town. So Zero Waste Gainesville, so we're a community group, we're not a nonprofit. It's just 3 of us that volunteer to do Zero Waste Gainesville work, and we advocate for our city and county to work towards zero waste, and we do education and outreach on zero waste. So Gainesville does have a goal, a resolution, and a plan. So we're considered working towards zero waste or a zero waste community, and our goal is to be zero waste by 2040. So zero waste takes a long time to achieve, decades, in fact. And then Lifoplastic is like a bulk refill store. They have food, but also like personal care products and stuff like that. So this is a real exciting thing that we've been working with our city commissioners on for over 2 years, actually, is a universal zero waste ordinance. And the ordinance is in its final stages, and it might have the first and second reading in the beginning of 2022. So there's many things in this ordinance, and one of the things that will benefit folks that live in apartments is that the recycling infrastructure should get better, meaning there should be enough recycling dumpsters or bins for the apartment complex, and there should be education provided to the apartment complex owners or managers and the tenants, so that should get better. There's a bunch of other things in this ordinance, and I'm happy to talk about it later if you guys are interested, or I can even give you a copy if you want to read it. But the main part that we're real excited about is that businesses, food generating businesses, would have to follow the food recovery hierarchy, meaning they would have to, if you're not familiar with the hierarchy, which you probably are, the top is where you start, because you get the most out of that. You get the most zero waste benefits. So source reduction is the most important thing always with any initiative, including food. But if businesses like grocery stores or restaurants or bakeries or anybody has excess edible food, they will be required to donate it to feed hungry people, then feed hungry animals. Industrial use, we don't really have a whole lot of that here, but then composting. But really the important thing to know with zero waste and with food is that this ordinance and all of the education that will go along with it will differentiate, because we want the edible food rescued and we want the food scraps composted. So this ordinance isn't going to mandate that if there's extra food at a restaurant, it just gets composted. Of course, that's a higher and best use than landfilling, but that's not exactly what we want. So we want the edible food to go to the food insecure or to feed animals that need it, but then the food scraps get composted. So this is really a big deal. We're really hopeful that this gets passed. And then down the road too, in this ordinance will be multifamily food scrap collection. So if you live in an apartment, you will have better access to recycling infrastructure, and down the road, so it might be several years before this is enacted, but there will be some sort of system to gather food scraps. And then for single family residents, food scrap collection is often called curbside composting, and that's not that hard, but we don't have it here, and we will in the future. So that's really exciting. But Americans, those of us in the United States, we waste a lot of food. The USDA estimates that up to 40% of all food that's produced in America is wasted. Refed tries to show you where it's wasted. So a lot in consumer facing businesses and in our homes. And that just goes to show you that we can be part of the solution. We can help to prevent wasted food. But you can see that just so much food that is produced doesn't get eaten, gets thrown away. So we need better systems to reduce that amount and then get that food to people who need it, because we also have food insecure and it also contributes to climate change. But here's the slide on wasting food equals wasting resources. So when we waste food, we waste the labor, the human labor that we put into it, the energy that contributes to climate change, the greenhouse gases, we waste money, fertilizer, landfill space, water, the actual land, energy, and biodiversity. So it's a really big deal when we waste food. And this is my last slide. And this is really what I do and what we should all be doing. We should actively be working towards creating a circular system with zero waste communities. So it really begins upstream. So upstream is before the point of consumption, before you buy something. So all of our products and packaging need to be redesigned upstream, and they need to be designed for the environment, meaning reusable, recyclable, or compostable. Also upstream, we need to design out the toxic and harmful substances. And so much of this has to do with plastic, but it's not just plastic, but that is a big part of it. We need to focus on waste prevention. We need to buy less and buy used items. We need to ramp up our reuse economy. So share more, repair stuff, creative reuse, salvage, and also reuse and refill. So think of to-go. If you got your coffee in to-go durable mug or some sort of travel mug, that then somehow it gets sent back to that coffee shop, sanitized and reused. And it's the same thing with to-go. So these reuse and refill systems are our future. We also need our zero waste communities to be inclusive. So we need everybody involved, everybody at the table to talk about your successes, the barriers, the difficulties, because it involves everybody in the community. And zero waste really does create jobs because we're managing resources, not just waste. It's part of climate change mitigation, and it really works to keep resources local. And the two really good examples of that are composting. So when you keep food scraps local and compost them, it creates a soil amendment. So that basically very nutritious dirt can then just be used to in your landscaping or grow new food. Also reuse of durable goods like the nonprofit I work for. Keeping those resources local and out of landfill really benefits the community. So that is my presentation. Here's all the contact information for Zero Waste Gainesville and Repurpose Project. But you guys can get this from Ashbury if you ever wanted to email me. But Repurpose Project and Zero Waste Gainesville are on social media if you want to check them out. And that is it. I will stop sharing.
Thank you.